Hi everyone. Today you are going to see about CSS box model. So this comes under unit number 2. Okay. In CSS we have a box model. So what is CSS? A cascading style sheet box model. So if you take any HTML element like paragraph or body or div division tag, okay, so what are the various HTML elements? So each and every HTML elements are rendered, okay, so that elements are going to be rendered in a box, okay. Say for example, so this is a content, DH is a content, so this content has been rendered by, okay, so this it is placed inside the box. Okay, see here we have the content DHE, okay, it's an HTML content. Okay, this element content is occupied inside the box. Okay, see here we have the content area. So this is the content part, and this space denotes the content area, and this border represents the content edge or inner edge. So basically if you take any HTML element that occupies the content, okay, that content has these components, okay, we call this as a collective components. Okay, the first one is the content, the second one is the padding, third one is border, and fourth one is margin. So if you take any HTML element that are having a content, it is occupied inside the box. Okay, the first and foremost thing is the content, okay, and next thing is the content area, after that the content edge, the border, and the space between the content edge and the border edge, okay, that denotes the padding area, okay, and the space between the content edge and the padding edge, so this space denotes the padding area. Okay, so it is a transparent area which is visible to the user. Next thing is next, above to the padding area and the padding edge we have border area. Okay, we have the border area, and above that border area is surrounded with border edge. Okay, and next to the border edge we have a transparent space. Okay, this space denotes the margin area. Okay, and above that margin area we have an outer edge that is known as a margin edge. So if you take any content inside the HTML, okay, that HTML content, the content is built up of a box. Okay, you simple put that the content is built up of the box. Okay, if you take DHE as a content, okay, so we have totally, we have in this example we have content, padding, border and margin area. Totally we have four components and its edges. Let's look out content. So here the content of the box, okay, where you can put the text or images. So that is the thing. Okay, you can put either the text or images inside the content. Okay, so next thing is padding. So what is a padding? It clears an area which is around the content. Okay, it is an area which is clears the area which have nothing outside. Okay, it's an empty space. Okay, it clears an area around the content. The padding here is transparent. So next to the padding is border. Okay, the border that goes around the padding as well as the content. Okay, that is the border. Okay, next thing is the margin. So margin again same as padding, it clears an area, it's outside the border. Okay, it clears an area outside the border, and the margin is similar to padding. Okay, but having transparent. Okay, it is visible. Okay, so if you take padding, it is above content. If you take margin, it is above all. Okay, that is above border. Okay, so this kind of components which is helpful for building your box model. So this is a box model. Okay, so if you take any HTML element content, this is the basic box will help you to to create a property. Okay, so how the properties can be set is you can you can apply the CSS, okay, cascading style sheet property. So if you want to change the border color or border thickness, okay, if you want to change the alignment of this text, okay, so that thing also can be possible with the help of box model. So it's a basic model, okay. So now look at the closer picture of this box model, okay, the same box model which I have explained before. So if you take the content is present inside, okay, and if you take the height of the content is represented as the attribute is the content height, and the width is represent, you can see here the arrow mark, okay, from this place to here it represents the content width. And similarly for the next box we have a padding, okay, this is a padding area. If you take box, it's a rectangle box, it takes four attributes basically, that is top, bottom, then left and right, okay, the padding top, padding left, and padding right, and padding bottom. So if you increase the pixel value of the padding or the percentage value of the padding, then you create a space, okay. If you decrease it, then the space will be reduced. So if you want to increase the left space, then you have to increase the padding left, okay. So that's the four property inside the padding. And similarly we have the border, okay, which is above padding area. We have the property called border left width, okay, we have left side width, top border width, and bottom border width, and right bottom width, okay. If you want to increase or decrease the width of this border, it is possible with the help of this box model properties, okay. Then after the final stage is the margin, okay. The margin, if you the margin helps to separate the two boxes, okay. It's the last thing, okay, for a box, okay. It's out. If you take margin as a top, and if you take margin as a bottom, left and right. If you take any other content, okay, that content, if you take lower bottom content, okay, then lower content is separated, okay. How the lower content and the upper content is separated with the help of margin. Similarly the left content and the right content is separated with the help of the margin. So margin plays a larger role, okay, to separate all the contents, okay. Now we are going to see the values, okay. What are the values we are specifying for the box model? That is see here we have a different attribute, and if you take generally we have 4 attribute for a box, okay. That's a 1, 2, 3 and 4 values. So what is the meaning of values for certain shorthand properties? That will take 1 to 4 values. If you give only one value, then what happen? Meaning is assigning this value to all 4 associated properties. Example, like if you give only one, that is if you give the box with the stop, then only one thing will be changed, okay. If you increase the top, then automatically all its associated associated properties like right, bottom and left will be also changes. So that is the thing. So if you increase the bottom, then the associated property like top, right and left will be changing, okay. Next thing is 2. So assigning the first value to the associated top and bottom properties, and the second value to associated left and right and left properties. That is if in previous case you are using only one property to associate with the remaining thing. In this case we are taking 2 attribute value, like if you increase the top, if you increase the automatically bottom property also increased. If you increase the right, then left property also increased. That is the value associated with 2. Next thing is 3. Assigning the first value to the associated top property, and second value to right and left, and third value to bottom. So here we are taking 3 attributes. Okay, that is first one is you are giving only one value, it is associated to only top, and remaining second and third value will be adjusted for right, left and bottom. Okay, so you are taking 1, 2 and 3 value. Okay, in this you are assigning first value to associated top property. So totally in this case you have 4 property. Okay, so you have to give all the property separately. Okay, that is top, right, bottom and left. So if you want to adjust these properties, the value for this property is given individually. Okay, but in first case, if you give one property value, then that property value will be set to the remaining right, bottom and left. Okay, if you give 2, then means top, if you get top is equal to 10 pixels, then bottom also 10 pixel. If right is equal to 20 pixel, then left is also 20 pixel. So that is the associated properties, okay, for the given box model. Okay. So in this table we have n number of properties associated with the box model. If you want to increase the padding, okay, then you have to use the pixel. You have to use the value top, right, bottom and left. Okay. So using the curly, inside the curly braces you have to give the pixel value. Okay. You have to mention the length. Okay. How you can mention the length? So already we have seen in CSS how the length can be given is using px value. Okay. Next thing is that px is a pixel value. Next thing is padding, but here 1 to 4 length values is given. Okay, that is the meaning. If in previous case, as I said, if you give one value, then it is associated with the remaining all other values. Okay. Next thing is border. Border have 4 sides. See here, top, right, bottom and left, and hyphen width. Okay, so here you can use the value like top thin, top medium. Okay, then what happen? It will create a thin border or medium. Medium is the initial value. So initially by default its value is medium. If you want to increase the border thickness, then you use thick property. Then if you want to make the border thin, then you have to use a thin property. Okay, so these are varieties of style properties that has been associated with the box model. See here color. Okay, so the border color, you can apply the border color. The color value you can choose any values. Okay, as I said in the previous case, how to choose the CSS color. You can choose it from the color palette, or you can give the color value directly like red, green, yellow. So like that you can give directly. Okay, then next thing is the border style, and you can apply the border style property. Okay, how you can apply the border style property? Using border hyphen style. So if you apply to one that is top for a single side, okay, it is applied to all the border. So 1 to 4 border it is associated. Next thing is border top, right, bottom, left. Here 1 to 3 values. 1 to 3 values is that is for example, if you mention the border color for one property like border right color, okay, then automatically it will take the remaining top, bottom, left to the choosing as what the same color. Okay. Next thing is border. So again 1 to 3 values, it is equivalent to specifying the given values for each border. So you have to give each value for all the border, like border top, border right, border bottom, border left. Okay. Next is margin. So margin, this one is top, right, bottom, left. By default it takes the auto. Okay, that is auto is a default length specified for a box model box model. Okay, it's a default length. And margin, if you increase the margin by value, that is it is associated with the 4 margin values. Okay, 1 to 4 margin values. Okay, so these are the several style properties which is used to create an box model. Okay, the box model is mainly used for changing the property, okay, of the your HTML content. Okay, the HTML element has many content. Okay, if you want to make any property changes, this box model plays a vital role. Okay. See here, this is an example for if you take this paragraph. We have seen here two paragraphs and its content, and how the content here represented with the help of box model is shown here. See here, the border is top, right, bottom, left, and it's given a style. The border style is 1 to 4 border style value, and the initial value is given as a none, hidden, comma, dotted, comma, dashed, comma, solid, double groove, ridge, insert, comma, outset. Okay, so how many? So we have large large number of properties has been given to the border. Okay, see here. What happened? First one is border is hidden. Next thing is dotted. You have seen the dotted line. You have seen here the dotted line. Next thing is dashed and solid, double groove, ridge. Okay, see here. You can notice here. Okay. Next thing is insert and outset. So what is the insert and outset property? Denotes the box shadow. You can notice here. See here the box as shadow. Okay, it's an insert shadow, and you can see shadow above the border edges. Okay, that is a outset shadow. That is a outset. It denotes the shadow of the border edges outside. Okay, border edge outside. This one is insert is given for insert shadow. Okay, for a border. So this is an example for a box model to change the border style property. So suppose you are applying the multiple declaration to a property. What happens? See here, border property is 15 pixels, value solid. Again you are changing the border as a 30 pixel. Okay. So what happened? But if you mention left, it is associated with the remaining right property. Okay, and all the right and top and left also. Okay. So what happened here is so by default border chooses all the sides as 15 pixel. That is left, right, top and bottom. But in this case you are modifying only the left border. So you are giving 30 pixel. So already the border left is by default is 15. So what happened? You are declaring the left border multiple times. So here the border left overrides this border property value 15 pixel. So now in this case the border left has 30 pixel wide. Okay, and its style is insert thread. So what is the insert thread? As said, we have inside shadow, and the color of the border is red. So previously for left one it is a solid. Okay. Next thing is again you are changing the color to blue. By default the border color for all top, left and right, bottom, okay, the color will be blue. But in previous case you are using insert thread. So insert is differ from this color blue, because insert for shadow. So this is for border color. Okay. So background color, the property specifies the background color for the content as well as the padding as well as the border area. So you can use the same property for all these component, content, padding and border area. Next thing is the margin area is always transparent. Similar to the padding area, the margin area is always transparent, and it is not inherited the initial value transparent. Okay. So, suppose here the margin and padding will not come to the inheritance The what is an inheritance cascading, you know the what is mean for inheritance. Suppose if you are a parent having one color, then child has the say parent color is red, then the child also having the red color. But in this margin it is not possible, okay, so it is not inherited. The background color cannot be inherited for all the thing, okay. So if you want to give color for padding, then you have to mention the padding. If you want to give color for content, then you have to give background color content, okay. So it is an individual representation. Next thing is background image. How can you insert the image for your content, okay. You have to use again the URL function. Inside the URL function you specify the reference where the image file is located. By calling the URL function, the image will be tiled over an element. So you can see how the image is tiled over an element. See here, you are calling that image cucumberflowerpot.png, and you have the content. Okay, see here, this the 1, 2, 3 lines of content is available. The content is tiled over an image, okay. So you can insert the image at the back side of the content. So that is a tiled, okay. So before seeing normal flow processing, okay, how the each and element has been displayed in the box, we can have the demo session of this box model and its property, okay.
Welcome to the 17th tutorial on beginning CSS. Today we're going to look at the box model, and this is where we really start to have some fun, because you can really start to style your website using the CSS box model. Now, what is the CSS box model? Well, if you take a look at this diagram over here on the right, there are 4 boxes. There's the content box, there is the padding box, there is the border box, and there is the margin box. And we're going to talk about each one of these in this video. Now, the first box, of course, is the content box. And we've been
shadow. So in this author going to explain about the CSS box model. Just listen to this example, then we can have the discussion about how the properties has been given to the content and how it is going to change, okay.
using that, right? That's where everything goes, and we put our text in there, images, videos, any content goes within the content box. And if we open up our web page here, you can see that this is in an actual box. All of this text in this paragraph element would be in a box. Pretty simple. It's also important to note that every single element on our web page has these 4 boxes around it. Now, these 3 are invisible unless we specify them. We haven't yet, but the padding is invisible, the border is invisible, and the margin is invisible because we haven't specified them yet. But they are there. They're just transparent. Think of it like that. But again, every single element will have 4 boxes around it. And the content is the one we're using right now. So now, in order to see the content box, let's go ahead first and specify a background color. And we're going to go ahead and use a hexacode here. It's E5E4D7. I actually like that color for my content boxes. So let's go ahead and save this. And we'll open this up now. And there you can see everything that's inside that color that we just specified is our content box. And yeah, it looks like kind of a box, doesn't it? Now you'll notice how close the text is to the edge of the content box. So in order to increase that and give that a little space to make it look a little bit better, let's go ahead and add some padding. So we're actually going to add the second box now. So let's close this out, and we do that with the padding property. You guessed it. And let's give that 20 pixels. Let's go ahead and save this. And let's open this up, and there you can see we've got more space now. Look at that. And that looks a little bit better in my opinion. Now let's add a border. So let's close this out again, and that'll of course be the third box on this diagram. And to add a border, there are 3 properties for that. And I actually already typed these out, so I'm just going to copy and paste these in here. There is border hyphen color, and we're going to make that black. That's pretty obvious. The border width, which we're going to make 2px, and there's the border style, which we're going to make solid. And in a future video, I'll actually go over all the different parameters and values we can use for the border. But for now, let's go ahead and save this, and let's open this up. And you can see we've got a black border. So we've got our content box right here, the padding, which is everything in between the content box and the border, and then we have the border. So we have all 3 boxes. Now you might be asking, what is the margin? The margin is this space right here. If you take a look on this left, that's the space between the side of the page and the border. Now you might be asking yourself, wait a minute, we didn't specify a margin, so how come there's some margin here? And the answer to that is that the browser automatically adds some margin between the elements. And so that's what the margin is. It's space between the elements and the space between the edge of the page and your border. And so we can actually play around with the margin sizes. And so we'll get to that in the next video. Now let's go ahead and save.
Okay, so in this example, what author says is the author changes the para using the para is represented with a unique ID selector p.para3c ID selector. Okay, inside the paragraph, okay, what are the properties for the para3? Okay, so the color for the para is purple, the font size is given. So this has been discussed in the previous session. Now, so we are talking about the background color, padding, border width, border style. So these are the components of the box model. Here, so whatever, so if you want to change any the default properties of the border or the padding or the background color, you have to give the value. So here the author uses the hexadecimal format. If you are well versed in hexadecimal, can you apply it? Otherwise, if you are not aware of the hexadecimal value of the color, you can give the color value as given directly. Okay, like purple or red, green, blue. So you can give the background color directly. Otherwise, you can choose it from the color palette. Okay, see here the padding, the space between your content and the content as well as the border, okay, that is the gap, okay, is given as a 20 pixel, okay, and the border color is black and border with this 2 pixel is given, and border style is solid. So solid, we have three source, we have medium, thin, solid and as well as thick. Okay, here it is represented as solid. So you can note the changes here in this area. Okay, the space 20 pixel. So as usual, we have how many elements? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 HTML elements. So in the this example gives the modification in para 3. Okay, so totally we have 1, 2 and 3 para as per this example coding. In this example coding, the purple is given for the paragraph content color, that is a font color. Then padding space is 20 pixel. If it is given 20 pixel, okay, if you have padding as increased, the padding area is increased to 20 pixel. You can notice here in all sides, you can notice from left side, right side, top as well as bottom. Okay, the 20 pixel gap, okay, that area is increased. As then you can notice the black color solid background color for the so this is the box. Okay, the content is enclosing inside the box model. Okay, so the box model components helps to change this property. Okay, you can change the property, okay, in, of the box, like increasing the padding area, then changing the border color, then changing the border style. Okay, so these things we can able to do. Okay, if you want to change any font, okay, or the content inside, you can use the font properties or some text properties which can be applied. Okay, so we are going to see the next example for the CSS box model.
Welcome to the 18th tutorial on beginning CSS. In the last video we dealt with the CSS box model, and we're going to continue on with that subject. Now of course we talked about the 4 boxes. There was the content, which is right in here. There was the padding, which is the area between the text and the border. And then there was a border, and that's just black border we created here. And then there was the margin. Now we didn't specify a margin, but as I said, the browser creates a little bit of margin on the outside. So that's what this is right here, between the edge of the browser and the edge of our border. So let's go ahead and close this now. And we're going to edit the style sheet a little bit. Actually, sorry, we're going to edit the HTML source first. So let's open that up. And let's maximize this. So what we want to do here is we're going to actually duplicate this class. So we're going to make a pair of 4 here. We're going to call this pair of 4. And let's go ahead and save that. And now let's open up our style sheet. And we're going to go ahead and copy and paste and create our class here. And we're going to call this pair of 4, of course. And let's change the color of this to black so they're a little bit different. We'll keep everything else the same for now. Let's save this, and we'll open up our web page again. And there you can see now we've got 2 paragraphs that stand out very nicely on our web page. Now we're going to go ahead and start the work with margins. Now let's say for this second paragraph that we created, we want a little bit more margin. We want a little bit more space here between the edge of the page and our element. So let's go ahead and close this out now. And let's go down here, and so we're just going to specify margin. And we're going to give this 20 pixels. Whoops. And let's go ahead and save this. And there you can see we have 20 pixels of margin now. Create some extra space around our element. Okay? So that's one thing you can do. Now let's say you want to create some margin here at the top, and you want a little bit more room between these 2 elements. And remember, these are boxes. Every element in the web page has a box system around it. And that's what we talked about in the last video, of course. But let's say we want to create some space here between these 2 elements. So let's close this out. And this is where we're going to use some of these parameters over here. So let's go ahead and specify margin hyphen top. And we'll give this 50 pixels of space. And let's save this. And let's go here. And there you can see we've got more space now between these 2 elements. So you guys get the idea here. You can move any of these elements around where you specifically want them on your web page. That's what these properties do. They allow you to get very specific so you can control where everything goes on your web page. And that's really the beauty of the CSS box model. Okay, so let's say we really want to get drastic here, and let's open up our web page again. Let's say we want to put this element all the way, we want this over on the right. We're going to put a picture here or something eventually. So let's say we want to put this element all the way to the right. So let's actually close this out, and now let's go ahead and put in margin hyphen left. Let's give this a big number because we're going to have to move this a long ways. Let's say this is 400 pixels. We're going to move this 400 pixels. We open this up, and there you can see we've moved this over now, and maybe we would put a menu here or something, or some sort of picture. So let's go ahead and close this out. Now the same properties that we are using here in margin are also the same property types for padding. So let's go ahead and play around with this a little bit. Let's add a padding left property, and let's go ahead and add 40 pixels to that, and we'll save this. We'll open this up again, and there you can see we've got some extra space here as opposed to this side. And so that's how that works. Okay, let's go ahead and actually let's not keep that. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. We'll save our style sheet. So you guys can play around with these parameters and moving elements around. You can go ahead and play around with these yourself. Now there is one final thing I want to point out. The box model, as I said in the last video, is in every single element. Every one of these elements has a box around it. We could actually put a border around the body. In fact, let's do that. Let's go ahead and copy and paste the border from our paragraph into the body. And let's make this, so this stands out, we'll make this 4 pixels. And then let's go ahead and type in aqua marine. That's a color, again, we can use. I spelled it wrong. There we go. Let's save this. If we open this up, there you can see it actually, there's the box. And you can see the margin that the browser actually adds outside of it, right? This is the extra margin that goes around our entire web page. And so you see how the box model actually contains everything. Look how close it is here. This extra margin, as I said, is added by the browser. So that's one thing you can do if you want to see how the boxes are aligned in your web page. You can just add a temporary border to see how everything's lining up. That's one good way to do this. Okay, and let's actually remove that. We're not going to keep that. So we'll get rid of that, and now we'll do a save. Okay, that is going to do it for this video. I will see you guys.
Okay, so the author here uses totally we have 4 paragraphs. The author duplicates the para 3 property for the same para 3 content will be same as para 4 and the property also similar property is copied and pasted here, and now the author does some modification inside the para 4 property. What the author wants to say here is the author wants to modify the margin, okay, the margin property. That's why the author gives the margin property in para 4. So this is the last component for the box model. So here the margin is given, the length is given as 20 pixel, the top value is given as 50 pixel. So you can give, if you give 20 pixel at the beginning, by default all the sites will take 20 pixel. But if you give the specific attribute margin top 50 pixel, then that top will be position, the top position margin will be increased to 50 pixel compared to 20 pixel, it get increased to the 50 pixel. Okay. Then next thing is the margin left. So if you want to increase the indent of the margin, okay, then this margin left property is used. Again, its value is given 400 pixel. Only the left indent will be changed. Other thing will be taken as a default value which is given above. Okay. So this is the one thing that the author wants to say in this video. Next thing is here. The author uses the box model property. See here the border color, border width and border style. Okay, similar to the elements, para elements, the body. So what happened here is the body elements is the root for all the H1, H2 and all the elements para 2, para 3 and para 4. So again, so inside the body only all the elements has been grouped. So if you want to make the changes in the default property of the body, then this body property, the border properties has been introduced here with the color, border color aquamarine and border with 4 pixel and border state solid. So what happened? This will not, this property will not be inherited by H1, H2, para 1 and para 2. Okay, the inheritance is not possible. Okay, so if you want to change any property for a respective para, okay, or respective HTML element, inside the elements only you have to give. So what is the use of given this property in the body is it will you can see the output. So you can see, notice, okay, this is inside the body only we have 1, H1, H2, para 1, para 2, para 3, para 4. Okay, totally 4 para element. So four para elements has been enclosed inside a box. Okay, that is the body. Okay, so how I can know the body content, body color? You see here, you can see the border. Border is aquamarine color and it's have some solid state, stylus solid state. Okay, so this is an example for margin. Okay, border margin. This is an example for a border, and this one is an example for margin. So here what happened, given as a left indent is given as a 400 pixel for a margin. So total, so the gap has been the gap has been given here. See, the margin left is 400 pixel. The margin left is 400 pixel. So the 400 pixel value is given from where it takes the margin from the border of a body. Next thing is the content margin. Okay, from this see, the content margin is here. Okay, the content margin is here. The margin left space. Sorry, the margin, it's a border left, it's a border edge, the border edge, and this is a margin edge. So if you want to increase the margin left indent, okay, then you can apply the margin left indent colon the value. So 400 pixel is the size is given. Okay, see then this is a HTML content of a para 3. Next thing is para 4. We have 2 paragraphs and also we have a 40 pixel margin. So what is the use of margin in the box model is it separates the content. Okay, it separates the content of HTML element. This is a paragraph element 3 and this one is a paragraph. It's another paragraph element. This is a paragraph 4. Okay, so the gap, the margin, if you increase the margin gap, okay, the top, if you increase that margin top to 40, the space is given here. Okay, similarly you can adjust the gap for the padding, the space between the content and your body of the box model. The space can be adjusted, okay, with the help of the padding property. Next.
Welcome to the 19th tutorial on beginning CSS. In the last several videos we've looked at the box model and we've added some content, of course, some padding, some borders, as well as altering the margin. And of course the content was just simple text. In this video we're going to actually add an image to our web page, and then we're going to apply some padding and a border to that image, as well as work against the margin again. So I want you to add an image to our website folder. I actually downloaded this Barracuda image from Wikipedia. So you can go ahead and get that image if you want. I think you just have to search on Barracuda. And if you do that, I want you to open this up in Microsoft Paint, and you can reduce the image in there by 50%, and that way it'll fit nicely on the web page. But like I said, you don't have to use this image. You could use really any image of a fish if you want. Just copy it to the website folder. We want that in the root directory. Okay, and as you know from the HTML series, if you watched that, we have to add the image to our HTML first. So let's go ahead and do that. And let's maximize this. And let's put this image in between this paragraph, our first paragraph, and our H2 header element. And I've already typed this out, so I'll just copy and paste this in here. Okay, so let's break this down now. Here is the IMG tag. Now the IMG tag is what defines the image in our HTML page. And think of it as the holding space for the image that we're going to be using. I also want to point out that there is no closing tag for the IMG tag. So we only need one tag. Now the class that we're going to use to style our image is going to be called image C right here, and we'll put that into our style sheet in a minute. And this is the source attribute, src, and this is where we put the name of our image, which of course is barracuda.jpg. And as I said before, we want to put that in the same folder that we have our style sheet and our HTML document. So let's go ahead and save this. And we'll close this out. Now let's open up our style sheet. And actually, before we do that, let's open up our web page. And there you can see we've got the image of our Barracuda.
So how the author says how to put an image inside the HTML element, and then author going to explain about how this image is placed, and with the help of box model, how the image image position has been changed, how you can increase the border of the image, okay, then how can adjust, align the content, that is image content, either to the left or right or center. So so in this example, author going to say how this image, how you can insert an image. You can insert an image with the help of image tag. Okay, that image tag, in this example, the image tag has been introduced in the para 1. Okay, in the para 1, the image 1 is introduced. Then you can see what are the properties going to given for this image inside this para.
And it's right between the paragraph, like we wanted, and the second header. And you will remember that HTML paints everything in a top-down order. So the first item that gets painted is the H1 header, and then the second paragraph, and then the third item, of course, is this image of this Barracuda. Now let's go ahead and first, actually, we're going to play around with the margins, because we want to center this image. We don't want this image residing on the left side of our web page. We want this actually centered, and there's a good way to do this using margins. So let's go ahead and close this, and we'll open up our style sheet, and we're going to go down here, and let's actually get rid of this space here. And let's go ahead and create our image class. And that, of course, is the name that I used in the HTML. And, of course, we need our squiggly bracket. And let's go ahead and put in some properties. Okay, so we're going to type in display and block. Now, I don't want you to worry about the display property right now. I'm going to do a future video on this. So you don't really have to be concerned about this right now, because this is a video on the box model. And we're going to type in the margin hyphen left. And of course we used that in the last video, and we're going to set this to auto. Now that we didn't do in the last video, so this is a new value that we're looking at. And let's just go ahead and copy and paste this, and then the right side will get the same value as well. Now of course in the last video we were using pixels. Now what this does is it allows us to center this image, and of course the content this time is the image. So when you set the left and right margins to auto, that specifies that they should split the available margin space equally, and the result is a centered element. And this is really the preferred way to accomplish horizontal centering with CSS. So you can save this code from this video. And that's the key to CSS. You can save all the code that you put in here that do various things for other websites, other web pages. That's really the beauty of CSS. So if you get a configuration that you like, save it, and then name it appropriately. So let's go ahead and save this, and let's open this up. And there you can see we've got a centered image, and that looks pretty nice. Okay, now let's go ahead and add some padding.
So as I said earlier, there is some association for left as well as right. By default, here the content is an image content. If you, by default, you make it as an auto, and then margin right as auto, then the image will be come to the center position of the web page. Okay, that is the thing. Then here dot represent, dot and image C represent the class file. Okay, the class file the class file, this class, so not the class file, it's a class selector. This class selector will help to change these properties in, for the image. Okay.
And a border to our image. And with images, generally you want to use a smaller amount of padding. So let's just go ahead and use 3px, and we'll see how that looks. And let's give a background color of silver. So instead of using the hex code, we're just going to use the actual name of the color. And then let's go ahead and use these same borders here. And we'll just use these same values. So let's save this. Oops. And we'll open this up. And there you can see we've got a nice border with a little bit of padding.
So now the author has changed the border of the image, okay, with some properties. So you can see the border property similar to for the paragraph. We have the border property as a black, okay, and we have the padding space, minimum padding space, so it's given here 4 pixel, and the remaining properties has been given, as I said, the top and margin top and margin left should be auto. That's why the image is very placed at the center, okay. Last video for the CSS box model.
Welcome to the 20th CSS tutorial. And so we're continuing on with the box model. And we're pretty much done with the box model. I just wanted to make a few more points. So let's go ahead and open up our web page. And let's scroll down here and take a look at our paragraph 3 element. Now the first point I want to make is that the background color property only applies to the padding and content. So we can see the content has the background color and the padding has the background color. But by the time we get to the border, we have to give the border its own unique color. Okay, so let's go ahead and close this out, and let's open up our style sheet, and let's go down to paragraph 3 again. Now the second point I want to make is that you can combine all of the padding properties into one. So you remember in the last video when we specified padding hyphen top, left, right, we wrote all of those individual properties out. You can actually combine those into one property. And so this right here essentially equals this. We're putting 20 pixels of padding all the way around the content box. So let's go ahead and copy and paste this over here. And so the way this works is this value equates to the padding top value. This is for the right, this is for the bottom, and this is for the left. So let's go ahead and put in 70 pixels for the left side of the padding. And let's go ahead and save this. And you can see our paragraph now has 70 pixels on the left. So think of this like a shortcut. And it depends on how you want to do this. I actually prefer to have all 4 of the properties in here because it's easier for me to read, but some people prefer the shorthand. So it's really what you prefer. So let's actually switch this back to 20 pixels because I only want 20 pixels of padding around my content. Now this same principle also applies to the margin property. So again, you don't have to type out margin hyphen left and margin hyphen top. You can just combine them all into one property. Now we can also combine the border properties. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's just get rid of this hyphen color. We'll keep the same parameters. And there you can see we've got this combined into one property. So this property equals all 3 of these properties right here. So let's save this and let's open up our web page, and you can see everything looks the same. They are identical. Again, it's just how you want to maintain your CSS code. I actually again prefer to have all these typed out, but you may prefer the shorthand version. So let's close this out. Now I'm going to show you how to eliminate margins around your elements. And that's the value right there. As you can see, 0. Makes a lot of sense, right? Let's actually take a copy of this style sheet because I don't want to save these values that we're going to put in here. So we'll restore this one in a minute. So let's just open this up now. And let's go ahead and set paragraph 4 to a value of 0. And let's go ahead and save this. Let's open up the index page, and as you can see, it got rid of all of our margins, but you'll notice that the margin up here, there's still some margin here between these 2 elements, and the reason is our paragraph 3 still has margin space, so we need to get rid of that as well. So let's go back to our source, and let's give paragraph 3 a margin of 0 as well. And we'll save this, and there you can see. There is no margin between these 2 elements now. But you'll notice that there's still some margin on the side. Where is that coming from? That is actually coming from the body element. So let's go ahead and throw up a border around the body element. And we'll just take this and copy and paste it up into the body. Let's save this. We'll open up the index, and there you can see that margin is outside the body element. So that margin space is part of the body box model. So we want to get rid of that. So all we do is put the margin 0 property in the box element. So let's go ahead and do that. And we'll save this. And now you see we've got no margins whatsoever. Okay, so let's go back here, and I'm actually just going to delete this now because we don't want to save this. We will restore the old CSS copy that we had, and that is going to do it for
Okay, so here the author, what the author done is here, he gave the margin value for is 0 for all the HTML element inside this web page. So in this web page we have H1, H2, sorry, for body, H1, H1, then paragraph 1, next one is image, next thing is paragraph 2, H2, paragraph 2, paragraph 3 and paragraph 4. So these are the collective HTML element. Here the author changes the property of all these HTML element into a margin, the value given as a 0. So what happened here, all the So all the elements have border border is black and 2 pixels solid, and margin is given as a what 0 0. So author set all the margin as well as border to this property. So ultimately what happened, all the HTML inside this web page takes the similar property. What happened in the para 3 and para 4, you can see the para 3 and para 4 is merged. How it is merged? Because the margin, there is no margin space between para 3 and para 4. Yes, see here, this is a para 3 and this is para 4. So what happened, the author sets the margin to 0, then border has some value, this border value to be a solid, and so what happened here, the black solid, what happened, there is no margin at all. Okay, you can also see at the left side as well as right hand side there is no margin at all, because in this example the author gives margin as 0, so ultimately for all HTML element there is no margin. Okay, so but it is not compulsory to set the margin as 0. It is necessary to set the margin value to know which is the para 3 and which is the para 4. There should be a gap for these two paragraph content. Okay, and there should not be there should be some difference between these two paragraphs. Okay, so definitely this margin 0 is not necessary. Okay, if you want to set margin 0 for any particular type of web page, you can set it. Okay, but for all the pages it's not a good thing to set margin as a 0. Okay. So next topic is normal flow layout. So here, so why I am saying this is a normal flow, because how the browser is displaying these kind of properties with box model. Okay, that step is known as a normal flow processing. Okay, here in the normal flow processing, each displayed element as a corresponding box. As we seen in the many example, we have noticed H1, H2 paragraph as body. Okay, we have the respective box. How the respective box has been displayed. Okay, this step is set by the normal flow processing. In normal flow processing, our HTML element box is called as an initial containing block. Okay, we called it as a block. The HTML element box is called as a block, and that corresponds to the entire document. Okay, and the boxes of the child element are contained in boxes of parent. Example, if you take div is a parent, and if you take h1, h2 are the child. If you take body as the parent, and if you have paragraph 1, paragraph 2 are the child elements of the parent body. Okay, so so there are many cases how this elements is going to display in that box. Okay, next thing is sibling block element are laid out on the top of other sibling inline element or one after the other. See, siblings means we have many child elements. Okay, so how the child elements are placed. Okay, that element, how the child element boxes has been placed. Okay, whether at the top which is placed at the one above the other. Okay, that is the thing. We have inline elements. Say for example, this one we have a div. Okay, as a block element that should be placed placed on the top of other. Whereas in inline element, if you take a span, okay, then strong, okay, that kind of HTML inline elements are their siblings are one after the other. Okay, it is placed very adjacent to the the neighboring inline element, whereas it is placed one after the another. The block element is placed one after the another. The inline elements are placed one after the other, that is adjacent. So these for these cases, how the elements are going to displayed, okay, how the elements are going to displayed, and how the boxes are going to appear for that element. Okay, that is a normal. This is a normal flow layout. Now I am going to so what is the static positioning and the normal flow? So by default, if you have not specifying any floating point, any position value, okay, all the HTML elements are positioned by as static by default. Okay, that is, if no position property is explicitly told, then that element has been positioned as a static. So how this is how this has been processed is with the help of normal flow layout only. Okay, a static position element is always positioned according to the normal flow of the page. So you are thinking about what is a normal flow. As I said, how the elements inside the web page is placed. Okay, that is a normal flow. I will give one diagram to say how the box has been placed and how it is processed, how the HTML box how the HTML boxes are placed. Okay, see here we have the HTML, which is the root of all the elements, and inside HTML tag we have body. This is the HTML root element border, and this is a body element border. Okay, box not border, it's a box. Okay, next thing is we have block element. So we have block element like body, division 1, division 2 and division 3 boxes. Okay, block element. Okay, so this picture says how it has been grouped. Okay, so if you take HTML is the root and for all the division, and if you take body, body comes under the child for HTML element, okay, and div, di2 up to div4 comes under the child element of body. So the top edges of block boxes are in document order. So normal flow is the layout of the HTML element in a web page. Again, when no position is given, the position by default it takes static. So all the elements inside a web page is described with two categories, as I said in the previous diagram. That is a block element as well as inline element. So next thing is the block boxes flow vertically downwards, starting at the top of their containing block, and normally takes the full width of the containing block level element. So as I said in the picture, okay, you can see here, so it takes the entire width. The entire width is a box. Okay, the entire width is for this one also, it takes the box. Okay. So the block boxes flow vertically downwards from top to their containing block, and normally takes full width of the containing block level element, unless otherwise it's specified is an indirect inline element. If it is an inline element, then definitely it will be adjacent to each other. Okay, it will not take the full width in inline element, whereas block element will take full width. Next is the block element. What are the examples for block elements? Are division tag, okay, paragraph element, or comes under the block elements. So block level elements box model. Okay, the elements are block level elements having display property by default block. Okay, so you are suppose you are creating a para, and you want to change the property of this para to display in a block. Okay, as I said, how to create a block for a box model is you have to if you want to display that block in your web page. Okay, in your web page, if you want to see that block of each and every block elements, you have to give a keyword like a display block. Okay, then if you give this property in the CSS, then definitely you can see the block. Okay. Next things, these element box model generate a line break both before and after their appearance when they appear in normal flow. So while the HTML elements, these element display, so it will display with the line breaks. Okay, that is a how it is displaying with the line break is because you are giving a display colon block. Next is the block level elements in the normal flow stacks vertically one above the another. Then normally the last goes to the bottommost position. Okay, as I said in previous case, the div will go at the bottommost position, whereas body and HTML will go at the topmost position. Okay. Next, if the width of the block level elements like paragraph div or unordered list are not specified, then it takes the whole width of the container. So you have to know what is mean by container. So if you are not specifying the width pixel value, so ultimately it will take by default it takes width of the container. So what is a container? See, the container refers to the block level HTML in which some HTML elements reside. Okay, container refers to the block level HTML element. Normally the container may have a division tag or even body tag. Okay, so see here we are having division tag div, and the box is represent with ID selector. ID name is box 1, box 2, and the content is red div element, blue div element. What happened here is these two div are in normal flow taken full width of your container. It takes the full width of your container. Okay, if you want to know the full width of the container, you can use the property display colon block. So what happened, you can see the block for red DAV, then you can see a block for blue DAV. When these two DAV are in normal flow and are placed, see here the placement is one above another. So initially we have the topmost is what, red, the bottommost is blue. So the display, how the normal this block element, how it organizes, red becomes the top and blue becomes the bottom element for red. Okay, this is a normal flow processing. Okay, here the width for both the division will take the container width. Okay, the container width is not specified, it takes the default container width pixel value. Next thing is, now we are going to see about the inline element box model. As I said earlier, these elements has been placed adjacent to each other. Okay, in a single line. If you want to in single line, in a line, if you want to make any property changes, okay, for the content, you have to using the by using inline HTML element, it is possible. So in for inline element also we have for you are representing that content in a box. Okay, example for inline element are span, next thing is border, bold, next thing is strong. Okay, so these are the inline elements. These inline elements are placed side by side horizontally, whereas block elements are placed vertically, one above the another. So these elements do not generate line break, whereas because it's not moved to the next line, inline tag will not move to the next line. It will be act on the single line. Okay, so that's why it will not generate a line break. Where the line break will be generated, it will be generated in the block element like DAV or body. Okay, so that kind of block para, so in that element only the line breaks will be generated. So normally the inline element resides in a block level container only or inside the block level element, and they appear side by side in what? Normal flow. So this is the normal flow processing, how the in normal flow processing how the inline elements and the block elements are placed inside the box model. Okay, so that is a normal flow processing. Now I am going to change the display property of both block and inline element. See here, first we can change changing the block level element, and you are setting the properties as display inline. So you are using the property display inline, not display so in the following figure we have red and blue are two division. Okay, we have two division tag here, that's a block element, and inside the block element we have the content, or the content given inside the block element is inline DAV, then again for second is inline DAV2. These are the two inline content. So if I want to change the property of this box content of this box model, I have to use the property as a display property as inline, not a block. Okay, it is a inline element. So I am giving the property, setting the property as display inline. So that's why the color of the text changes, the color of the box changes to red for inline 1, inline DAV1 and inline DAV2. So here it doesn't take the vertical, because you are representing in an displaying, representing the display in an inline. That's why it takes a adjacent, and the color is chosen as background colors red and blue. Okay. So with this we conclude the displaying property of block as well as inline element. By changing the displaying property, you can choose either block as well as block, otherwise inline. To modify the inline content, you can choose display inline. If you want to modify the block, okay, you can use display block. So that is a major difference between these two properties, display inline and display block. So why I am saying this concept, okay, because if you want to change any properties, any element properties, okay, the normal flow takes the concept of block element as well as inline element. So based upon these two behavior only, the box model property will be changed. Thank you.